Katia Karpova, welcome to the studio this morning. We're delighted to have you. For those who don't know, you're head of the EMEA region for Fiserv, which I think incorporates about 13 countries in Europe and the Middle East. We always like to start off by, getting a little bit of background on our interviewee. So I hope you don't mind if I ask you just to tell us a little bit about your journey to here and maybe where you're from originally.
Yeah, sounds great. No, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to share what we do and a little bit about Fiserv, which you're absolutely right. EMEA is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We're serving 13 countries. Just about myself a little bit. I am a Ukrainian. I grew up in Ukraine during the Soviet Union times. Ironically, most of my life I have spent on the other side of the Iron Curtain after that, after the Soviet Union broke up. I went to study in the United States around the age of 18, spent probably 10 years in Washington, D.C., continued my master's studies, and then started my work career with J.P. Morgan. Was as an investment banker first in New York, and then moved sort of around with J.P. Morgan for the next 13 years in various finance roles, and ultimately in London as head of client service and implementations. 5 years ago, I had an opportunity to join Fiserv as Chief Financial Officer for the Europe, Middle East, and Africa business, and last year, I got an opportunity to run the entire business in EMEA, so that's my trajectory here. And of course, in the last 3 years, we have moved our headquarters. We have moved our headquarters from London to Dublin, Ireland, and so we moved with our families and the leadership team, and we're now firmly here on the ground in Ireland. So thank you for having me here.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. And 10 years in Washington, we were discussing it beforehand.
Yes.
It's such a wonderful city.
It is a wonderful city.
It's a well-kept secret, I always think. And you were Chief Financial Officer, I think, initially with Fiserv.
That's
Am I
correct?
And then
that is correct.
Congratulations
That's
then
correct.
on the big
Yes.
move. And I want to come back to Fiserv. But just before I do, the other thing I always like to ask as well, because you've been in leadership roles for quite a long time, is just to get a sense of your view of leadership and what you think leadership should look like.
Yeah, I think it's a very big question, and it's a very that you can say a lot of things. I take a lot of tips from people I see around and through my journey, people that I've met, including my current boss, Frank Bizignano, who is running Fiserv globally, of course. I think of it as really someone who has the vision for the company and is able to rally the troops and bring people on board to make that vision a reality, right? But it's so much more than that. It's a coach. It's, I think it ends up being kind of the most fearless person in the room, right? Because you need to aim higher. You need to bring people into seeing that vision and getting on board with it, and also working really hard to get there.
And you're 5 years now with Fiserv. For those who aren't as familiar with it as they should be, tell us about Fiserv and maybe globally, then in Europe, and then maybe the operations here in Ireland.
Yeah. So who we are. So Fiserv is we're a Fintech and a payments company. We operate in over 100 countries in the world. I'll talk a little bit more about the EMEA business as well. We are a Fortune 500 company listed on New York Stock Exchange under FI symbol, which stands for Financial Innovation. The clients that we support really range from a small business company, a small coffee shop and a restaurant, to Walmart, Apple, large companies out there in the world, large brands, as well as about 100 top banks across the world. So the companies that we power, if it's a bank, it would be the powering the bank with the processing technology to process their card business. In merchant acquiring business, which is a large part of our business, and including here in Europe, it is powering with technology to take payments, right? And that is to take payments and to grow the business. In Ireland, here, and in a number of countries in Europe, you will see Clover, which is a device that you put your card towards in the checkout when you go to a restaurant or a coffee shop or something like that, any small business. That's us. We're behind it, and we're processing that transaction, and we're making that business trade. So, and we take a lot of pride in doing that, because I feel like we're a brand and a business that sits behind a lot of businesses and economy to be able to function properly. So that's what we do.
Okay, very good. And you were talking about the move to Ireland. Tell us a little bit about the operation in Ireland and its importance, I suppose.
Yeah. So our journey in Ireland started many years with a joint venture we have with the Allied Irish Bank. It's still doing extremely well. It's one of our greatest partners as a joint venture, AIB Bank, here in Ireland. We've continued to expand our work here, and obviously with the support from IDA and having such a business-friendly environment, we continue. We've established now our headquarters here in Ireland. Similarly to the rest of the region and globally, merchant acquiring is our large part of our business. We support, of course, the small and medium businesses and large enterprises, as well as large enterprises. And large enterprises, this is all about omni-commerce. So the large companies that would like to be able to sell their products online or in-store, and we're enabling that omni-channel technology behind it. And that's really what we do. I feel like our Ireland presence spans so much broader than just the business we do. We also sponsor Tipperary GAA, which has been a fantastic experience for us. We, it's really the DNA of Ireland, and I think, original thought of it materialized into something very special, and we're very, very keen on that, and continue to do that. In Dublin, we just opened a year ago, almost to the day, I would say, a new collaboration center in Docklands. It's right next to Brewdog, for those who know Dublin. A large building, wonderful place to work and collaborate and to bring people to work together. We also have a location in Nina, where the Clover device that I was telling you about and the technology behind it, we have just a superior team there of talent that is working on this actually globally for us, putting this out. We have about 600 people in Ireland, about 4,000 people in the region, and about 40,000 people globally. So that is Fiserv and our sort of presence across the board here.
Fantastic. And I'm thinking innovation and transformation is such a big thing in finance and fintech now. So I'd love to get your thoughts on the sector, I suppose, maybe what's changing, what trends we might see in the future.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I was thinking about it, and I actually do get asked a lot, sort of, what is the next thing? And the next thing is already happening, right? Mm-hmm. We have the new generation of consumers that are demanding that payment methods change, right? We used to pay cash, mm-hmm. right? Then we used to pay card. Now you want to pay, they want to pay, they're technologically very savvy consumers. They want to pay with a watch, with a device, with a phone, hopefully with nothing at some point, with maybe a chip in your brain, something like that, right? But that generation has been really demanding that the payment technologies are changing and are becoming more digital, and that has driven a lot of innovation, right? And that's what keeps us on our toes, because then you have the entire space that is trying to meet the needs of those customers. And now those customers are also, business owners. They want to do something different. I think the big trends they're already happening, right? One, it's called embedded finance, but it's really integrating payments into the broader business solutions for clients, for the small businesses, so that the merchant or the client or the business is not just taking a payment. They're also able to do their payroll to their employees. So they can also manage supply chain, right? And that's part of the entire business, running the business, right? And so embedded finance is essentially just a fancy word for what I feel like we've been doing already for a very, very long time, which is integrated those business solutions. It's going to be a trend that will continue and will continue to become very relevant as businesses will look into more than just taking payments and how else can we be there with our technologies to help them run their businesses. I can't not say AI because everybody says AI, right? But it is going to change a lot of ways in which we do not only internally, we work internally, but also how we prevent fraud, how we do know your client processes, and also in the area of client experience. My last few years at JP Morgan, I was running client service and implementations. My heart will always be somewhere between finance and client service, and I think that there is an enormous value in everybody thinking about what's the experience of the client, how do we continue to improve client satisfaction. I think there is a big role for AI and robotics to play. We're spending a lot of time on making investments in that space. It's absolutely critical, and it will revolutionize the world of how we support our clients and merchants.
Yeah. I think it's a good place to be between client services and finance.
I know.
They're two pretty
in
core,
running the business now,
I was
absolutely.
Going to say, and I wonder sometimes do businesses not spend enough from the top spend enough time thinking about customer service, because there's probably nothing more crucial at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So that's so interesting. And you touched on it there, but your own, aside from your clients, your own internal transformation and the digital transformation, has that been exciting, challenging over recent years?
Absolutely, exciting. And we know this is the next step of us being able to deliver better, more efficient, more technologically ready services for our clients. I mentioned Clover. Is building out that entire suite of products that come with Clover. And back to my point earlier, how do we offer now a broader value-added services and the business solutions that come through this ecosystem, right? Everybody says the word ecosystem, so I'm going to do the same. But it is exactly that. It's how do we innovate in bringing that value-added ecosystem to our clients through Clover. In Carrot, it is really enabling that omni-channel e-commerce solutions and making it at a pan-European level. For us, we have clients that don't want to do work in one country. They're growing, they're expanding, their clients are expanding. So we need to be there with the capability to help them grow. If they grow, we grow, right? That is really the bottom line of how we manage our business. And in the card business, in our issuer processing business, it's all about cloud, right? We're bringing the platform and really transforming our ability to deliver the next level of services to clients through cloud-native platforms. And we're well underway on our innovation journey. There's always going to be more to do. And like I said, I think that the demand coming from our customers will continue to evolve, and so we will.
Yeah, and I'm even thinking it's so obvious in a way, but during the pandemic, we all went cash-free, and a lot of people haven't gone back to it. So I'm just thinking the outlook for the company and the sector, I presume, is very positive. I mean, that isn't going to change, really, is it? You're in a sector that's going to grow, isn't it?
I think so too. I definitely if there was one thing that transpired from pandemic is cash to card conversion, and that never went back. Right, but we're still not there. There is still more that we can do on that front, on the cash conversion side, but also now growing. Now that it's getting into the digital, you can do so much more with it. So it's going to grow now like a tree, exponentially. I think we've gotten a really good foundation on which to build.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're probably as you're aware, IDA are our partners on this series, so I have to ask you the question. It's important to know. What has the support been like from IDA? And I don't just mean about coming over here, but while you're here, the kind of things that they do with you.
They have been an enormous support for us, and actually, even the broader, business friendliness of Ireland is why we're here, right? It's an English-speaking country. It's the shortest commute for us to New York, for me to fly, which I do quite a lot. But it is the business friendliness and frankly, talent. Talent, actually, I would put talent up there. Highly educated workforce, very international. We're doing very well here because of that, right? IDA has been a cornerstone of our ability to make our transition to Ireland. But also government. I met with the Minister, Jennifer Connell-McNeil, in November. Our CEO and chairman was here in the region, Frank Bisignano, and we visited jointly. And she's got a vision of, Ireland becoming the Fintech hub for innovation, growth, and collaboration. And we are completely aligned. We have exactly the same view. We believe the same things. And so it's easy to go and meet with your counterparts and the government and work in the environment where it is easy, right? IDA has supported us in ability to deliver on our technology development. We had our original in 2017, when we built out our NINA technology hub, that really was made possible with IDA support, and we continue to work very, very closely with them. And I look forward to working more with them as we continue to build out our Irish presence in Dublin and NINA.
Yeah, and I think it surprises people sometimes what a strong fintech and finance sector there is in Ireland. Mm-hmm. The number of innovation hubs that players like you have here, which I love to see. I have to say, I love to see that the innovation is happening out of Ireland, and it's great to hear your thoughts on the talent. It would be my view as well. Mm-hmm. It's probably one of our really strong points. Mm-hmm. That idea of and you're not alone, that move from London to Ireland, was that a bit of a wrench? And was it very different? Did it feel very different?
Okay, I'm going to say a little anecdote because I was moving with my kids. They're 9 and 11 now, so this was 3 years ago. And they kept on asking me, what kind of animals are in Ireland? And, what kind of food is in Ireland? And, interestingly, when we arrived, and we moved from London, just to be clear, so the differences were minimal. We still spoke English, and, the animals were the same and all of that. I felt more home here. And, for me, home is Ukraine, so everything was new. But we're now fully set up as a family. My kids go to St. Killian's School. It's been a big change, but very seamless. I expected more from the move. Very happy to be here. We're rooted here. I'm rooted here, and it's been a fantastic experience. I definitely feel like I'm calling it home now.
I'm delighted to hear that, and there's great solidarity here with Ukraine. I think in Ireland as well. I think people feel very strongly.
I'm so grateful for that. It's obviously been. It's going to be 2-year anniversary of the war in a couple of weeks, and been a very tough time. And walking through the streets of where I live and seeing Ukrainian flags, and it's been not only heartwarming. Maybe that's what also makes me feel like home.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's wonderful. Well, you're very welcome. We're delighted to have you guys here in Ireland, and thanks so much for coming in and chatting to us. That was wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all. Great to hear more about Fiserv. I learned a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. Happy to come anytime. Thank you.